Jeonju is really well known for being an eating city. There are so many local specialties and we have to try as many of them out as we can while we're here. We only have a few days here, but I think it's enough time to try a lot of the things Jeonju has to offer. Excited? Of course I am. Let's go. Woo! We're at a place called Ujok tang. Ujok tang is cow hoof soup. It seems to be a really popular thing. I'm not sure if it's a Jeonju specialty or maybe just a provincial specialty, but I thought why not try it. Since we're here, we got two different things. We got the Ujok tang, which is the cow foot soup, and we got galbi tang, which is ribs. I think that's enough for two people considering how much food they usually give us.
So we thought that it smells like burgers. You could smell the meat and the grill of the meat
And onions.
There's onions. There's like a roasty smell that would normally be a bun. For some reason. It's very sour.
I've got the Ujok tang, that's a specialty.
It's so milky. It smells so good. It smells like beef soup. Let's try it. They don't salt this at all. So I think you're supposed to season this to your liking, but you can definitely taste the beef soup in there. The beef bones. It's like almost sweet because like you've just extracted all the flavor from the beef. Even though it's milky in color, it doesn't taste creamy at all. I think it's just the natural color coming out of the beef bones. They've got meat from the hoof, which means just like pork's foot, it has a lot of the collagen on it. I don't think it's fat, I think it's collagen. Let's try it. I'm chewing for a while, not because it's tough or chewy, but because collagen is naturally kind of difficult to get down all in one go. The collagen is less bouncy than pig collagen. It's more firm with a bit of salt. It's really good. It seems like there's different kinds of collagen in there, and it might be from different parts of the leg. But the darker one is a lot firmer in texture, almost like a very crunchy, hard seaweed, whereas the paler one is so soft. It's almost like fat in texture. And it's just like collagen, beef, and a really nice, very rich and flavorful broth. I have the galbi tang, which is the beef rib soup. This one's not milky. Let's try the soup. This one's already salted. It's nice and flavorful. It's pretty simple, and it doesn't taste like it's been like flavored with MSG or anything. It is already salted, so I don't need to worry about seasoning it. I'll try the beef. Using gravity, this completely fell off the bone, so I'm really excited about this. It's not that it's incredibly tender, it's that the fibers are separated from each other. So you still have quite a bit of a chew, but it's just a really good flavor and really tender. I like the spring onions. When they add it in, it's not like cooked with the beef. It's just a last minute addition, so it gives it a nice fresh vegetable flavor. This is one of the side dishes. I can't believe they serve you beef as a side dish with a bit of salt. Let's try. It's so soft. It's like jelly. There's not a lot of flavor. Even the salt doesn't give it a meaty flavor, just a bit saltier. You know what I realized? A lot of the older Korean men, the uncles and all that, they slurp the soup a lot. And I realized that when you slurp, it cools the soup down really quickly. And you get the mouthfeel of the collagen. You should do it. You have to do it. That was so good, honestly. I feel like such an old man now. It's a bit odd. It is a bit odd. We wouldn't necessarily say you have to eat it because it is a bit of a strange dish to eat. But if you're open to trying new things, this is a great restaurant. They're so friendly. And honestly, the food is just really good. The kimchi is nice, so it cuts through the richness using a bit of the sour salty kimchi fermented flavor. I would recommend dipping the beef in a little bit of salt. That's all you need. And with rice, and you've got yourself a really good meal. Beansprout soup with rice is a really popular dish in Jeonju because there are bean sprouts that grow specifically in this region. So we're here at a 24-hour bean sprout rice place with pretty high reviews, so I'm looking forward to it. This place is
like it has nothing but beansprout rice because she literally just asked 2 people eating and I said yes. So we're gonna get nothing but beansprout rice soup. I didn't expect it to come with an egg, and I have no idea how to eat it with the egg, traditionally. I'm just gonna assume that you pour some soup over and just let it cook a little bit longer, but at the same time, you could also maybe throw it into your soup or mix it with your rice. I'll try the soup first. It's a little spicy. It seems like they top it up with kimchi, so the soup predominantly tastes of the sour, salty flavor of kimchi. You can actually taste the bean sprouts in the soup straight away. It's very strong and fragrant, and quite sweet as well.
It's flavorful, but not in a way I expected. I think I was thinking of a meat-based broth. Possibly it's like an anchovy broth. And then of course the kimchi comes through, and the spiciness kind of sits on your tongue just a little bit, like a very warm sensation. This is a squid. It's very firm.
I'll try the bean sprouts. They're really, really long, and they feel really crispy still. It's really nice and fragrant, and it's salted really well as well. And just be careful of the pepper powder, or it kind of hits you at the back of your throat, even though it's not that spicy on the tongue. It's a really simple dish, something that you eat for breakfast, even though this place is open 24/7. But unfortunately, it's not vegetarian because of the squid.
This place seems very, very famous because they actually have 2 stores across the road. The second one, which is in black, it seems newer, and I think it only opens from 2 p.m. onward, so probably when it gets super crowded. It was a very good, simple meal to have. Very light because it wasn't greasy, there's no animal fat. The egg completely changed the flavor of the soup. I think I actually really like the egg being dunked in the soup. I'm still unsure how to eat the egg, but if you just want to chuck it in the soup, mix it in, let the yolk do its thing. On to our next meal. Jeonju has a specialty called 물짜장면. What I think the dish is a dry jjampong style noodles. So it's more of a sauce rather than a soup, jjampong. But I'm not entirely sure, so we're gonna try it out. It is pretty much what I expected, except that it doesn't have any red color at all. They asked if we could eat spicy food, and we said a little bit. So I thought they would put maybe a little bit of spice in it, but it turns out they didn't put any. That straight up tastes like wok, like fire flavor. It's like chicken stock kind of base, but man, that fire flavor is really strong in here. It's a gravy. Maybe like, as you said, just the Cantonese style gravy. Stir-fried vegetables, and it looks like shrimp inside. It seems like something you could learn to make at home. You don't need like any of the special bean paste or anything. You just need a good chicken stock and the flame flavor. This is really good. The smell of the mulcajang is unbelievable. It smells so strongly of the char, the wok smell. Let's try it. Just like flame grill flavor. Just the flavor of the wok. It's called the flavor of the wok, and I don't know how to describe it unless you know what it tastes like. It's the reason why barbecue tastes better than pan frying. This one's the jajangmyeon. So it's like chopped meat. It looks more like the traditional one, which is probably why he recommended it. Let's go. It tastes different. It doesn't have that very salty, very strong bean flavor. It's more like your basic Cantonese style sauce, which for some reason is very dark in color. And then you can feel the texture of the onion and the very finely chopped meat as well. Not as salty as I expected, though I do think that it's going to get saltier the more I eat it. Let's try it with the noodles. The noodles are very Korean. I don't think you find this style of noodle anywhere else not really in Chinese style cooking. It's a slightly chewy yellow noodle. Of course, it goes really well with a thick sauce. It's not very sweet like I expected. Usually there's a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of saltiness in a jajang, but this one is not. It's mostly savory and a little bit salty. It doesn't taste like beans, which is why I'm surprised. It tastes more like a basic Cantonese style gravy. This one kind of tastes like the jajangmyeon that I'm familiar with, but it also kind of reminds me of the Taiwanese pork mince noodles. That's like kind of the combination of those two flavors. I guess it's because it has pork mince in here. Possibly pork mince, which makes me think of that. And it's not as salty as I thought it would be. That was really satisfying. Two really top-notch dishes. With jajangmyeon, the translation from Chinese is stir-fried sauce. So when I say jajangmyeon, we assumed it would be like the soupy version of the Korean style of jajangmyeon. Whereas actually, it was a stir-fried sauce. It was a thick stir-fried sauce. I can't tell you which one I like more, to be honest, no. They're both incredibly different flavors, but very Chinese, very Korean style Chinese. I'm satisfied, it's filling, it's cheap, and it's plentiful, and the owners are really friendly as well. Definitely try the jajangmyeon, whether it's here or whether it's other Chinese restaurants in Jeonju. Although we definitely recommend this place. It's only a few minutes walk from the Hanok village. On to the next dish. What's the one thing people say you have to eat in Jeonju? Bibimbap. So we're here at a very famous bibimbap place called Hanguk-wan. The Jeonju bibimbap is very different from the normal bibimbap that you get elsewhere because first of all, the rice is supposedly cooked in beef stock rather than water. It also uses toppings like local bean sprouts and acorn jelly. It is supposedly said to have been a royal dish consisting of side dishes mixed in rice when rations were low during the war. But now it's a pretty common food that you can get anywhere in Korea and even internationally. Curious to see how different it is and how good it is too. Great, I'm hungry. Let's go! Woo! I got the yukje bibimbap in the original brassware bowl. It comes with the raw beef, the yukje, a raw egg on top, and of course the rice, vegetables, and the gochujang sauce. Let's try it. It tastes like bibimbap. It's really nice with, you get the initial spiciness from the gochujang as well as some sweetness, and of course the fragrance of the sesame oil, which alongside the rice, you get a lot of the textures from the different vegetables as well. There's different kinds of crunchy because all the vegetables have a slightly different texture, and then the chewiness from the beef, although it's a very mild meaty flavor because it's raw. Does it necessarily stand out from other bibimbaps I've had? Maybe not, but it's a very good one. I have the stone bibimbap. This isn't the original Jeonju style. It has cooked bulgogi beef on top instead of the raw yukje. And the stone is 150 degrees Celsius, which is very hot. Let's try it. The sweetness is the first thing that I'm getting. They put in the dry seaweed, which gives it a really nice roasty flavor. The vegetables are very fresh, and it's a really good ratio of rice to toppings, almost to the point where you don't even see the rice. And it's really worth it. And I'm glad it stays hot because of the stone bowl. I understand what you mean, Jose, by saying that it's not anything particularly special, but at the same time, there's absolutely nothing to criticize about it. That might be seaweed. That's a type of vegetable. That's eggplant. Kimchi. A type of jelly, I'm not sure. I think that's acorn jelly. That's probably a radish. Yeah, it's a cold radish soup. And that's quail's eggs. I'll try the acorn jelly because I've always wanted to know what it tastes like. So, here goes. It's like the texture of milky pudding, not quite tofu. Have you ever had chocolate pudding? It's kind of that creamy texture. It's very soft, a little bit bitter, but most of the flavor comes from the sesame oil and the chili they put on top. It's good. It was a good experience. Was it a mind-blowing bibimbap? Not really, but it was a very good one. The one disappointing thing I thought about this place is that the rice was quite mushy. It wasn't fluffy and light, and you could feel all the grain textures. Unfortunately, it was quite chunky and a bit sticky. That being said, I think in comparison to what you can get in back home, the side dishes are a lot better. Definitely in Jeonju, you have to try bibimbap. This is one place you can come to, but there are plenty of other choices as well. For our last dinner in Jeonju, we're gonna be eating galbi. is Korean rice cake and galbi is ribs. But it is not a rice cake with ribs, it's meat. Usually the cheap type of meat, which they mash up as if it were flour and then pack together as if it were a rice cake and cook it up and serve it. It's a cheap way of serving tasty, cheap cuts of meat without it being tough or dry. So it's like a hamburger steak. Yeah. Okay, let's try it. We are ordering one galbi and one Yukjeon, which is a beef pancake, which you can get as a street food dish all around the Hanok village. Let's see how it goes. I've got the pleasure of trying the Deok galbi first. It's very flavorful of meat, and the textures, I thought it'd be like a hamburger, but it's a lot more firm. You can feel the fibers a bit more. The meat is quite tough, but because it's minced and it's all packed together, it falls apart quite easily like a hamburger patty would. And of course, meaty with a sweet glaze over it. It's better than I thought it would be actually. The mushrooms give it a nice crispy chew to the whole thing. So I think it's a play on textures more than flavor actually. I've got the beef pancake and it seems like it's a thin strip of beef which they have coated in egg and maybe flour and then pan fried. So let's give it a go. They got a piece of beef which they really pounded to get into a flat shape, and it makes it still chewy, and you can tell it would be tough if it was thick. It's quite tender because of how thin it is. The egg and flour coating is salted well, and so you just get a bit of chew from the batter. It's served with a side of onion, so I'm gonna try it together. It's surprising. The onion is only just the tiniest bit of acidic. It's very sweet despite it being raw. It gives it a nice crunchy texture, cuts a little bit of the oil, and the chili sauce they put on top is a little salty as well. Altogether, it's a really nice clean bite. It's kind of a once in a while cheap dish, I would call it. It's pretty good. You can definitely tell that the pancake as well as the galbi are generally cheap pieces of meat, but they've been prepared and cooked really well. I'll be honest, I was skeptical about this place because it seems a bit disorganized. They weren't prepared during opening time. It did feel like a family who had just opened up a business for the first time. Even though it says open since 1997, I believe. But that being said, the food was very enjoyable and it seems more like a home style of cooking rather than something that's very elevated. So it's very good comfort food, and it's delicious because it's simple and it's supposed to taste good. It is a little bit out of the way of the Hanok village, but it's actually still within the Hanok village. And it's also one of the cheapest options if you want to get Deok galbi. You don't get the full experience, such as being able to cook the Deok galbi on a hot plate yourself, but I enjoyed that a lot more than I expected to. Anyway, as to where you can find this restaurant and every restaurant that we had in this video, you can look on our article, which will be linked in the description below. As to where we are now, follow us on Instagram at twinspeakeatgo. See you next time! Go for it.